This week on Music Worth Buying, we're going to be discussing the debut album by the Black Pumas.
And the latest album from Cheap Trick, titled In Another World.
Hi, everybody. This is TJR. I'm a musician and a music writer.
And my name is Robert Kinsler, and I'm a music writer and a musician.
And we're back again to discuss two albums that we're both very excited about and want to share with each other and share with you as well. And I'll be starting this one with the deluxe edition of the Black Pumas self-titled debut album. And I can already hear the trolls out there right now on their keyboards getting ready to give me a rash of you know what over being so late to the party on this album here. You haven't heard of the Black Pumas yet? You don't know nothing about music. Yeah, I can already hear it. I can already hear their keyboards clacking away on this one. And maybe I deserve it, you know. I am very late to the party on this one, and I can't believe it. This album came out summer 2019. The deluxe edition was released in August 2020. And during this time, I was peripherally aware of them. I knew there was this group out there called the Black Pumas who were making some noise, but I didn't go listen, you know. And you know, I don't listen to any terrestrial radio anymore. I just pull things up on Tidal and just start listening to stuff, look at new releases. For whatever reason, I must have missed it somehow. And for anybody else who has been living under a rock like I have, the band is singer-songwriter Eric Burton and guitarist, producer Adrian Casada. The Black Pumas are described as an American psychedelic soul band from Texas. I've heard the word psychedelic, faintly psychedelic, used to describe them, but I don't think that word describes them really, in my opinion. I describe them as a very guitar-driven, dark, gritty rock and soul band. And to start off here, and I'm going to play this for you, Robert, and hopefully you out there watching get to hear this too. Hopefully the copyright gremlins don't take it away. We're going to listen to the first track entitled Black Moon Rising.
You know, I really like that. I haven't heard that particular track. I have definitely heard of the Black Pumas, and I've also heard them occasionally on non-commercial radio here in Southern California. But that track I didn't recall hearing, but that is great. And like you, I probably should have, got my hands and ears around this album much sooner. But again, probably because of the pandemic, or because that wasn't one of the titles that was provided to me by the record labels for whatever reason, and just how much music I get every week, I just didn't. But yeah, I need to go out and familiarize myself with this album too, TJ.
Yeah, I just recently picked this up, and I do my videos where I talk about the new vinyl and CDs I picked up, and kind of show them off for the first time. Maybe I unbox them or unpackage them and kind of talk about them. And I talked about this one, and after I started listening to it and reading more about the band, what astounded me was just how meteoric their rise was since they formed in 2017. Like I said before, the release came out in 2019. They performed South by Southwest that same year and won the Best New Band trophy at the 2019 Austin Music Awards. The album received a nomination for Best Record, Best New Band, and Album of the Year in the 63rd Grammy Awards. And the thing is I used to be a voting member of the Grammys. I'll admit, over the last couple of years, I've been like, who cares? I don't even watch the broadcast anymore. I didn't watch the last one. I was like, I don't care, And had I watched it, I would have seen them performing on it, I would have been exposed to them probably. And
Yeah.
yet, it just shows you how far I've fallen off from that scene because I haven't been a voting member in years. But I mean, literally, Eric Burton was a busking musician. Casada, on the other hand, was already a Grammy award-winning guitarist and producer. And he had been a member of the Latin funk group, the band Grupo Fantasma, which had won the Grammy Award for Best Latin Rock, Urban, or Alternative Album in 2010. That was an album they released called El Existential. And so he clearly had a more connected place within the music industry, within his standing. So I'm sure that helped them, but at the end of the day, they had the goods, which is the music here. This album, and I'll talk about the second disc in a moment, but first I'm just referring to the actual release here. This album is awesome from start to finish. There are no bad tracks. And let me talk about packaging, and I'll play another track for you here. This is the CD version. This is the deluxe edition, which came out last year, which features 2 CDs. And I'll go ahead and open it up for you here. Take a quick look there. It does come with this little fold-out booklet here, which does include lyrics. They're not easy to read, I have to say that. But there we go. It's quite the fold-out. I'll show the other side here real quick. Here we go. And we've got some photos. There we go. And and just real quick, I'll show the actual CDs here. There they are. I add these little sleeves after the fact whenever they come in this kind of gatefold vinyl packaging, because they tend to slip out easily. I add these little sleeves here. I think this should be standard.
I agree.
Like this, so you don't need them in jewel boxes or in digipacks. But here, yeah. At any rate, though, very nice package there. I love the artwork, and I'm going to play a second track here, and then I'll briefly talk about disc 2. This is the last track on the album, entitled "Sweet Conversations." This track is atypical. Or I should say it's not typical of the rest of the album. This is a very ethereal sounding track that's unique from the rest of the album. So I'm sharing it for that reason. And we'll see what you think.
Great.
This love run dry. Sweet conversation.
Very beautiful. Yeah, very different from the first track I heard. And, I don't have any immediate comparisons. I mean, yeah, it's just very nice.
It's very.
I've been delinquent. I need
that song. Yeah. It's completely different from the rest of the album. I do want to state that. I'm glad they ended the album with this song versus began the album with this song, because if they began it with this song, it would be like this complete deception of what the rest of the album was. You always want your first song to hopefully represent, this is what the album is about.
Right.
This is what you can expect by and large. And that first track is what you can expect from this album. But this last track is a real beauty and just very dreamlike. I don't know what to call it. It's, I call their sound rock and soul, because I hear the elements of both.
Yeah.
And it has this very ethnic, and I don't want to say any particular ethnicity, because it's not. It has this very mixed ethnic sound to it, and there's a very gritty sound to it as well. But this track is just this real singular, just piece of hard to categorize beauty. So it really stands out for this reason, and it's an interesting way to close this album out, in my opinion. So I'm going to talk about disc 2. Disc 2 features some live studio tracks, some of the songs that were on the initial release. It also features a couple of new songs, and it features covers of Tracy Chapman and the Beatles as well. And it's all good. It's all good, Of course, some of the songs you already know, but they're live studio versions.
Yeah.
And
you've sold me on it. Yeah, I'm going to have to go out. I'm going to go pick up this album. I know that cool. To be true. Well, thanks for bringing that. Yeah, that's great.
we're both late to the party, but better late than never. And what are you sharing today?
Well, I'm sharing that might be a little bit better known, at least to classic rock fans, and that is the 20th album / latest album from Cheap Trick, In Another World. Now, hard to believe, but Cheap Trick's self-titled debut, I mean, we're just talking about Black Pumas self-titled, came out back in 1977. I'm old enough, or should I say ancient enough.
Yeah.
I actually remember going and buying that on cassette tape. And I wore that tape out. I mean, I just love Cheap Trick's debut album. And I can tell you this with just as much certainty. I just love In Another World. This is just a flat out rockin' great statement from these rock and roll Hall of Famers. I mean, just an amazing album. And I sure hope we can play a little bit, but let's start things out with a little bit of Light Up the Fire. And this is just a straight ahead rocker off Cheap Trick's new album.
Now, I have heard this track already because it was an advanced single. I have not had a chance to properly hear this album in its entirety yet. I like this track right from the start.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I talked about it on a previous video. But yeah, I like tracks like this. I love how just rough and raw this track is. It leaves the Cheap Trick. There's always been a strong Beatles influence. This particular one really kind of leaves a lot of the Beatles influence behind and really just wants to be raw and aggressive. And it's a really solid track. And I like tracks like this because tracks like this make me feel like I'm 16 again.
Yeah. Oh, isn't that the truth? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they really put me in that mindset of
it's almost that kind of like, and people that have heard their first album, a song like He's a Whore, where it just, my God, it just comes out of the gate and it's like, that's what this song is like. And the guitars almost sound like they're on a Smithereens record. I mean, just that really, really heavy AC/DC sound, and Robin's voice. I mean, my God, he's sounding like he's 20 again. I mean, it's just crazy how great this song is. And again, I don't have the physical CD, so I can't talk about the physical packaging, but I just love this album. And I guess I think they've had it ready, but because of COVID, they held it back. But I'm glad we're finally able to hear this album. It's just fantastic. And there is a cover on the album, and I'm not going to talk about that, but they do a great version of John Lennon's "Give Me Some Truth." But what I thought, instead of playing a little bit of that, is actually they do and you just mentioned the Beatles and Cheap Trick's connection with the Beatles and stuff. There's a very Beatlesque track on this album that I absolutely love. It's called Passing Through. It's very luxurious and stuff. Let's listen to a little bit of that, and then I'd love to hear your reaction to it.
Okay, cool.
Okay, and it's called Passing Through.
So I'm going to have to say that I want to hear this a few more times, but there are elements of this recording that have already grabbed my ear.
Uh-huh.
There's just something about it. I hear what you're saying with the Beatles influence, though it's not maybe as pronounced as, say, other Cheap Trick songs where the Beatles influence is just right smack dab in your face.
Oh, yeah.
Here it's a bit more tempered, but there are textural elements of this song that are already grabbing my ear, and it's in the production and the recording.
Yeah.
I want to say I like it. I just feel like I need to hear it a few more times, but it's definitely tickled my ear.
Right.
It's definitely, this track has flirted with me basically at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's beckoning me to explore a little further. But yeah, there's some very cool elements about this track.
Oh, there are some nice things. And the album is consistently good, but there is a lot of diversity on it for, kind of in Cheap Trick's sonic corner of the universe. I like I'm sure a lot of people have heard the other advanced track, Boys and Girls and Rock and Roll. That's not quite as heavy as Light Up the Fire, but that's a straight ahead rocker. But there's some other interesting like there's a really the song that opens the album, a lot of these really cool, artful harmonies on it that I really like. I think that one's called "The Summer Looks Good on You." Another great song on here. And then there's a really melodic song. I know you've mentioned Ear Candy before in the past, called "Quit Waking Me Up." Another great song. I mean, there's so many good songs on this album. I think on almost all the Cheap Trick albums, you get some good songs. Here again, kind of like their debut album or their second album, In Color, every single song just hits home to me. I mean, and that's saying a lot for a band this far into their history. I mean, this is a band already. They've been in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame since, I think, 2016. And did they rest on their laurels? Absolutely not. They are here, making music because that's all they know how to do, and because it's important to them. And we are so fortunate that
they still got a mortgage to pay.
Yeah. But I'm so thrilled that Cheap Trick, who were so much a part of my youth, when I was in my teens, are still here today, just doing it with so much, kind of like what we've talked about with some of the Stones or the Zombies, some of these other veteran artists. They're still they're keeping up with all the kids. I mean, this is just a great album.
Did you say at the beginning it's their 20th album? Did you say that?
I think the 20th studio album. I mean, they've done
not
they've done
live stuff,
they've done compilations, but I think and I got that from Wikipedia. I think physically counted, and the list looked like it was pretty comprehensive.
Wow.
But it's amazing,
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that they can still produce rock and roll. Even if all they came up with was a track like the first one that you played for me, Light Up the Fire.
Light Up the Fire, yeah.
Where you can feel like you're 18 again, when someone our age can feel 18 again listening to it, or 16. That in itself is an accomplishment, that they can still do that, And that crack about the mortgage.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I think Rick Nielsen would say if he was interviewed about that. That's probably
I got to, a thrill for me. I got to meet, I could even send you the picture, TJ, when you edit this, maybe if you want to throw it up there. But I waited in this long line at NAMM, and people that have watched this previously know about the NAMM show in Anaheim, California. But I waited in line and met Rick Nielsen, and it was so cool. I've met and interviewed a lot of cool people over the years, being a journalist and stuff, but it was a thrill. And it's funny, we did a photo together, but about every third person that he was having his photo with, he would put up his middle finger, and it was so classic. It's like, hey, you drew you're a lotto winner. This is what you get. I mean, my photo was kind of a little bit more, but you'll see how cool the guy is. I mean, Rick Nielsen is the coolest, I
think I was at that same NAMM show with you, and he was interviewed. There was like an in-person interview that he did, like with an audience. They were filming it, and he was very funny guy.
Yeah, he's hilarious. Yeah,
he said, "I'm a musician. I'm supposed to be broke, but it just didn't turn out that way."
Yeah,
and so it sounded, that crack about the mortgage is something I'm sure he would like say.
Oh yeah, but, he has personality. And if you haven't seen Cheap Trick live, you definitely should. They still put on a great show. I think I've seen them a number of times. One of the best shows I ever saw is they did a tribute with an orchestra and some other notable performers, where they did Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band track by track, the full album with an orchestra. And I think then they went to Vegas after that and did it for an extended run too. But when the Register said, "Hey, how would you like to review this?" I go, "You're going to pay me to go see Cheap Trick perform the Beatles from start to finish? Yeah. You don't need to ask me a second time."
Yeah.
And, I've been very fortunate in my life to have a lot of opportunities, and that's one of the most memorable. And it should, but I have to say, I'm just a huge Cheap Trick fan, and it is so great to hear them back firing on every cylinder and then some. It's just great here.
So I'm looking forward to hearing the album now, and I know it just came out a little while ago, and
it's just been out a couple weeks. Yeah,
good. All right.
I'm looking. Cool. Thanks for bringing the Black Pumas too. I got to hear that album.
Yes, and I guess I deserve all the hate I'm going to get on this video here. We'll see what happens. But at any rate, for those of you out there watching, what do you think? Have you heard these albums? Do you plan on hearing them? If you've heard them, let us know what you think. If you want to help us share more new music, discuss it, and expose it to more people, please share these videos on your social media. Please click like so that more people will discover them. And as always, click subscribe and click the bell notification icon so you can know when we release new videos and more episodes of Music Worth Buying. We've been away for a little while, but we're back now and we want to make more episodes. So please show us your support on that. And I want to thank the patron supporters as well, who give us that extra level of support. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. And let us know what you've been checking out too. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.